Aquarium Monday.
This may look like an aquarium newsroom, but it's just here at the Two Oceans Aquarium by the microscope exhibit. Today we are with Ashwyn. Good day, Ashwyn.
Good day, everyone. Good day. How are you all doing today? I hope you're doing wonderful, just like I am doing.
Wonderful today. So tell us a little bit more about this assortment of dried sea creatures.
Yeah, so at the microscope we look at all the fun animals that we don't actually see with our naked eye. So we've got some dry specimens over here to actually show everyone that doesn't actually know what's going on in the ocean what they can actually look at. So for instance, this over here is actually similar to known as the skeleton of a sea urchin. But we call it a test, a urchin test, which is really, really cool. And it's quite interesting how it is actually formed and which family group it is part of. So it's really, really awesome to actually look at all these wonderful animals. And the amazing thing with this microscope, it can show us the small animals that we actually swallow when we are in the ocean. So that's quite cool.
Okay, are any of these little critters that we swallow harmful to us?
Oh no, I mean the one little critter that you swallow, the Artemia, or forms part of the planktonic family. It's really quite cool. You essentially can give up your shakes because it's got so much protein in, so you can have a cup of seawater a day and you'll be perfectly fine.
Okay, I might not advise to do that, but tell us about this one here. It's a sea star.
That is a sea star. That's a spiny sea star, and I can pick it up and you can actually feel it as well. It's quite cool. Its family group that it lives in or part of, it's known as Echinoderm, which speaks of hedgehog skin. So Echinodermata, which speaks specifically of hedgehog skin, and that is the cousin to the sea urchin, which is quite interesting because what actually happened over a few millions of years, this guy closed up and became the sea urchin, which is quite cool.
Hey.
And then there's another family member which is not on this table right now, but that is the sea cucumber, and then from here it came up into the sea cucumber, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned that they are related, and I see that the sea star has lines here, but so does the sea urchin.
Yeah, so that is your pentile radial symmetry. So what actually happens is this guy, he actually closed up, and if you look at the urchin test, you can actually see that, which is really cool. And what we actually do is we make an urchin lantern. So we take out our phones, we light it up, and you see the lights actually come through, and that's really, really cool.
Oh, cute. Okay, so I was looking at the sea star, right, and I see these grooves underneath. What was here?
So those grooves is actually where its feet go, which we call its tube feet, and that's the little suckers that actually move around to actually allow it to move, because it doesn't have feet like you and I that has to wear shoes, but it's got lots and lots of sucker tube-like feet, which allows it to move around.
Okay,
which is
cool.
Awesome.
So we are at the microscope exhibit. Tell us a little bit more about the actual microscopic creatures over there.
The actual microscope, first of all, we are so happy to have this microscope. This is one of our newest microscopes. It cost us an arm and a leg, so we're literally happy about this microscope because it can record and it can still an image, so that is really awesome. But we get to look at really cool animals like the barnacle. That's the shell of the barnacle, and I'm definitely going to show you how the barnacle looks under the microscope. The strawberry anemone, which is really cool because I'm sure everyone knows about the anemones because, I mean, hey, it's Nemo's home. But these anemones are quite small and they're pretty cool. You'll definitely be able to see the anemones. And then my favorite animals are the sea spiders and the nudibranchs. Now, nudibranchs is a whole different kettle of fish because that is a sea slug and it's super, super cool.
Okay, so can you explain to us what the pink guys over there are?
So the pink guys we're actually looking at is the strawberry anemones, and we were able to zoom in and you can actually show you what it actually does when it eats, because it's got these amazing things called nematocysts or stinging cells, and that's how it stings and gets its prey, which is really cool. And in the aquarium we've got a touch pool where people get to touch the cousin to these guys, which is the sandy anemone, which is really, really cool.
Okay, so anemones, are some of them really harmful to humans when you go out into the ocean?
So an anemone is part of the same family as jellyfish, which is known as Cnidaria. So Cnidaria have stinging cells or nematocysts. So depending on your actual tolerance level on a particular item out in the world or anything like that, you will feel a difference, a pain to it. So like some people get stung by anemones and other people don't, but it's the same thing that lives within the coral reef. So small little anemone polyp-like structures make up coral, and you will hear that divers always say never go out without gloves, because if you touch them you can actually get stung because you get like a fire coral and all of those things that actually really sting you. So I always advise when people touch at the touch pool is to listen to what everyone is doing over here, but never go out in the wild and it's like I'll pick up a jellyfish like, oh wow, let's play with the jellyfish because
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I touched an anemone. Definitely
Yeah,
not.
Right. So you mentioned jellyfish, and right here we have a beautiful tank with little tiny jellyfish. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit more about
So
this?
these jellyfish are the moon jellyfish, and what is quite cool here at the Two Oceans Aquarium, we actually culture our own jellyfish, which is really, really cool. So actually under the microscope, we actually explain the jellyfish life cycle, how it starts off like a polyp stage, which again looks exactly like the strawberry anemone, and from there it will break off into little polyps with buds, and that buds will pop off and become individual jellyfish, which is really cool. And that is what I think is the highlight here at the microscope, where we can show people the complete life cycle of the jellyfish, and it's really, really cool.
So can you tell us a bit more about how you culture them?
So what actually happens is when we get jellyfish or jellies, essentially, sometimes when we go get kelp and things like that, we will get the polyps already stuck on the holdfast. So that's like the root structure that holds into the holdfast. So Krish, which is the jelly expert here at the aquarium, looks after the jellies and the corals and the cnidarians and all of that. He actually cultures them. So he leaves them in specific culture lab sections in his lab, and allows naturally for that to happen. With the polyps that we've got on the stage, if we need to increase it, what we will do is we will stimulate it a little bit, so add a little bit of iodine, and that will actually stimulate it and allow it to split off into its buds, and then we'll actually see, wow, in the next few weeks they can actually become jellyfish. It's really cool to watch. Feel like a dad every time I see jellyfish pop off.
That's so cute. Okay, so one last item on the table. What is this black pouch thing?
This black pouch, I think it's one of the awesomest things, because many people come in like, oh, I've seen that before on the beach, and they don't actually know what this is. So this is what we refer to as a mermaid's purse, or a mermaid's purse. And yes, people believe in mermaids, so do I, and they do not live in this, definitely not. But a mermaid's purse is essentially an egg case of an animal. So particularly for this one, it's an egg case of the skate, so the cousin of the stingray. We have mermaid purses for sharks, which are these guys. So there you can see a mermaid purse of the shark, and that is your cat shark, shy shark, pajama shark family that will lay that, which is really cool. So sharks do lay eggs just like the skates.
Okay. So the babies, this is the egg, and they'll like grow
Inside,
here.
yes.
Inside
So mom
this.
will actually lay that, and she'll swim around, and you'll see this egg still has a little bit of it attached. So she'll swim around kelp or any sea plant that is in there, let these little things attach to it, and then the egg will just chill there, because the mom doesn't look after it. She's like, I'll lay you by,
Yeah.
I'm out. So that's what mom does. The egg will then stay there for a few months, depending on the species,
Okay.
and then the baby will actually pop out over there, which is really cool.
Oh, so you do have a few shark exhibits here at the aquarium. Have you seen that?
Oh,
ever?
yeah. So most of our sharks are not the big sharks like the ragged-tooth sharks, but our shy sharks, pajama sharks, all of them. I've seen them go from that stage. In fact, I've seen them from mom laying an egg and then actually the egg hatching and coming out. So it's really cool to actually see that complete cycle. And then what is quite nice is we get to keep it and release it out in the wild.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, be sure to come down to the Two Oceans Aquarium and have a look at the microscope exhibit, because just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. And as Ashwyn said, it's good protein for you when you go out into the ocean. So I'll see you guys again next week for more Aquarium Monday, only on a Radio 786.
This has been Aquarium Monday.